There are hundreds, if not thousands, of reported unknown canine attacks on farm and ranch animals across the country, which are swept away or covered up by the local law enforcements or governments to hide what is really going on in our backyards. Animal Control investigating 3 horse attacks in Greenville, Spartanburg counties. Spartanburg, South Carolina, WSPA. An upstate family says they had to euthanize their horse after finding the animal bleeding to death from multiple deep cuts. According to Spartanburg County Environmental Enforcement, the horse was attacked sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. Greenville County Animal Control says 2 other horses on the same farm were attacked on Thursday. Both cases are now under investigation, but Animal Control hasn't said if they are connected. Investigators also say they have limited evidence and are turning to the community for tips. Sarah, a retired thoroughbred horse, has lived on a pasture in Campobello for the last 22 years. The horse belonged to Brandon Howell. "I really loved her," he told 7 News. On Monday morning, Dedra Howell went to go feed her son's horse and was startled by how she found Sarah. "She was swaying with her back legs and I'm like, what's wrong?" Dedra Howell said. "I stepped aside and looked, and that's when I saw the big wound on her hip." The Howells examined their horse and found Sarah had 4 deep cuts. Craig Howell says the horse was stabbed in the chest area, which he believes punctured a lung. "If it hadn't been for that fatal wound, we might have tried to get a vet and worked on her," he said. "But I couldn't stand to watch her suffering, and so I took it upon myself to put her down." Craig Howell says the horse's injuries weren't something he had seen before. That's when he decided to reach out to the Department of Natural Resources. They looked at it and confirmed that these were wounds that were not consistent with any animal attack in the state of South Carolina, Craig Howell said. 7 News spoke with a local wildlife biologist who agrees. "The wounds are pretty large to be any kind of animal that we have near here or around us," said wildlife biologist Pat Cloninger. "That looks like a laceration. That looks like a knife cut to me." The Howells turned to Facebook to help them get answers. That's when they received a message that upset them. Howell says he learned through social media that 2 other horses were attacked just 3 miles from his property. "I'm just angry and sad that some sicko would do this," Brandon Howell told 7 News. The Howells hope someone is held accountable. They worry that if someone is capable of fatally injuring a horse, they could harm a member of the public. Greenville County Animal Control told News the 2 horses attacked on Thursday were checked out by a vet and are doing fine. Ohio Sheriff. Non-human creature slaughters horse found dead in creek. Ross County, Ohio. A sheriff in southern Ohio is reporting that a non-human creature slaughtered a horse overnight. It happened at a farm on Airport Road in Ross County. The farmer stated today he found his barn torn apart and was missing a horse. He stated there was blood in the barn and the back door was busted open. He found the horse in the creek in the back of the property dead, a deputy wrote in a report. He has cameras and stated he checked it already, and no one had been there since he was there yesterday. Upon further inspection, we were able to determine that a human did not do this to the horse. The horse, after being attacked, somehow ended up in a nearby creek where it died, the sheriff reported. Police set traps after the mysterious horse attack. Chesterfield County, VA, WTVR. Chesterfield Police and Animal Control are setting up traps near the Chesterfield County Colonial Heights line. They hope to catch the animal that attacked a miniature horse early Tuesday morning. "I heard a big loud woof, woof. He was in my pasture with my mini horse. My mini horse was screaming," horse owner Marianne Yakowicz said. Yakowicz said she went outside and saw the attacking animal run off into the night. The attack left the horse in need of more than 24 internal and external stitches. "If I had not heard that, the horse, might have been ripped up out here laying down with no guts or anything," she said. Animal Control believes the animal that attacked the horse is a dog. "It had to have been a big dog," Yakowicz said. "According to the prints we found, he's huge." Police asked neighbors to call in if they spot a black lab running free or 2 dogs running together. While the property where the dog attack took place may be considered rural to some, the property along the 18,000 block of Branders Bridge Road sits less than 250 yards from an apartment complex filled with children and families. If he has no problem going after a 500-pound horse, he had no problem going after a child, neighbor Jerry Welch said. That dog could pop out of the woods anywhere. Welch, a father of 6, lives on the property where the attack occurred. He said he planned to keep his children inside until the dog is caught. A horse is fast. It's running. A small child like my boy, he wouldn't have a chance, Welch said. He could not fight him off. The dog would kill him. Other neighbors believe the dog is no stranger to the area. On March 12th, another person reported seeing large paw prints similar to ones left during the Tuesday morning attack. I was scared it was a big cat, like a cougar. Nancy McCook, who boards horses nearby, said, I told my neighbors to be careful when they're walking out and to make sure they knew when their kids were out. Mystery cattle deaths in Colorado stump investigators. Officials scratching their heads over deaths of 40 bovines since October that lack telltale signs of wolf attacks. Investigators in Colorado have been left baffled after dozens of cattle inexplicably dropped dead in a remote corner of the state. The mystery has triggered a wave of U.S. press coverage, with the New York Post running a headline claiming, "Cattle slaughtered by mystery creature that left no tracks." About 40 cows and calves have been found dead near the town of Meeker in northwest Colorado in the past 2 months. Wolves were initially blamed for the deaths, but Colorado Parks and Wildlife (CPW) officials have since said that only 5 of the deceased cattle showed wolf-related injuries. The investigation has since focused on whether the cows could have been infected with a deadly bacteria, but postmortems have revealed no evidence of that either. The saga is perplexing. Travis Black, CPW Northwest Region Manager, told a Parks Commission in mid-November. We're scratching our heads a little bit. We don't know exactly what has occurred up there. A rancher in Meeker first reported the deaths of 18 cattle in October. At the time, CPW officials thought wolves could have slaughtered the animals, but as the number of the dead continued to grow, it emerged that only 5 showed the hallmarks of a wolf attack. Described by Black as missing tails, bite marks on the hocks and flanks and hamstrings, there was also no evidence that wolves had returned to their prey, which Black said was unusual. The Denver Post reported that investigators have used sophisticated technology to determine if wolves are present in the area, including trail cameras and manned flights. The searches also included howling surveys, during which, according to the website All Things Nature, biologists will stop periodically and howl, and then wait for a response. At the culmination of these efforts, Black said, "We have no evidence of wolves in that area." He added, "That doesn't mean they're not there. Sometimes wolves can be difficult to locate." CPR News reported that wildlife officers are monitoring a wolf family based in Jackson County, but the wolves' territory is 100 miles from the location of the cattle deaths. Officials have also investigated whether the cattle could have had a bacterial infection. Black said, "Certain bacteria can lie dormant in a cow before being aggravated by stressful situations, such as being hunted by wolves or dogs." Examinations of the dead cattle have proved inconclusive, however. The Denver Post reported that microscopic lesions, which typically indicate a bacterial infection, were not present in the animals. Black said the investigation would continue, and admitted it can take time to find evidence of wolves. But as it stands, there is no explanation for the deaths of the cattle. "We're trying not to jump to conclusions here," Black said. Meeker cattle deaths remain an unsolved mystery to Colorado wildlife and livestock experts. Nearly 2 months after the death of dozens of calves south of Meeker, originally believed to be caused by wolves, wildlife officials, veterinarians, and the rancher who suffered the losses all remain perplexed as to how the animals died. The role wolves may have played has diminished since the original news release by the Colorado Parks and Wildlife on October 7, but the predator has not been completely ruled out. Meanwhile, disease has gained ground as a possible cause. Jerry Klingelsmith, the Meeker area rancher who suffered the losses reported October 4th, recently released what he said is the most likely scenario for the deaths in a story. The most likely scenario would be the following. An apparent canine attack may have triggered the onset of a still inconclusive cause of death, he wrote in the story. Klingelsmith said he brought in veterinary help in addition to Colorado Parks and Wildlife and other wildlife experts to investigate the cause of the deaths. More Meeker calf deaths. Wolves are suspected of killing meeker cattle, but did disease play a part? He said one of the possibilities investigated was black leg, a disease caused by the Clostridium bacteria. Black leg was also brought up as a possible cause at this month's Colorado Wildlife Commission meeting by Travis Black, Colorado Parks and Wildlife Northwest Region Manager. But Klingel-Smith said in the story pathology results from samples sent to the Colorado State University Diagnostic Laboratory in Texas. A&M Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Laboratory could not confirm the deaths were caused by black leg. The Texas A&M Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Laboratory website says animals can become infected with the bacteria while grazing. The disease causes low oxygen conditions such as bruising or damage to the muscle, and eventually muscle necrosis and hemorrhage. It said animals affected by blackleg are usually well-fed animals between 6 months and 2 years of age. The disease often occurs between 12 and 48 hours after the bacteria enters the animal, and the majority of cases occur in summer. Colorado Parks and Wildlife previously said the deaths were reported over a 2-week period and were reportedly spread more than 1.5 miles on the ranch's grazing allotment on the White River National Forest. The agency said more than 40 calves have been reported dead. Black said at the November 17 commission meeting the case remains perplexing because a handful of calves showed injuries, including contusions and hemorrhaging, consistent with wolf depredation. Some had tails missing and marks consistent with canine teeth, which prompted the state wildlife agency's initial release. He said a possibility is canines such as dogs or wolves chased or harassed the calves, exacerbating a health issue within the herd. However, he added there is no evidence of dogs being present, and that, despite the agency conducting aerial flights, howling surveys, using game cameras and looking for tracks, no signs of wolves were found since the deaths were reported, and there have been no evidence wolves consumed any of the calves and no evidence other predators may have killed the calves. Also, there have been no confirmed wolf reports from the area, only unconfirmed wolf sightings from the public late last fall in the general area where the depredation occurred. We have zero evidence of wolves being in the area, but that doesn't mean they weren't there, he said. Right now, we don't have a solid answer as to what happened. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has confirmed 10 livestock deaths attributed to the North Park wolf pack, most recent coming November 19th. However, that pack is not being looked at as killing the calves near Meeker. The Meeker incident is more than 100 miles from the North Park pack's known territory, and that pack was the confirmed cause of the death of a calf October 9th in North Park. The parents of that pack naturally migrated from Wyoming and gave birth last year to Colorado's first wolf pups in 80 years. The State Wildlife Agency is in the process of creating a plan to recover and manage wolves, part of which includes reintroducing wolves by the end of 2023. Colorado's released wolves are believed to have den in vicinity of recent cattle kills. Colorado Parks and Wildlife confirmed released wolves have likely established a den in the vicinity of where recent wolf depredations of livestock have taken place. That information was detailed in Agency Director Jeff Davis's April 23 letter, responding to the Middle Park Stock Growers Association's request to have the wolves responsible for the depredations near Kremling lethally removed. Removing the male breeder at this point would be irresponsible management and potentially cause the den to fail, possibly resulting in the death of the presumed pups. Davis wrote, "This is not a desirable result, and I am therefore not going to take action at this time to lethally remove this animal." At least 2 of the released wolves have been involved in the killings of 5 cattle in 3 separate incidents over 16 days in the same general area. That prompted the Stock Growers Association to write letters to Davis, the governor, and others requesting removal of the wolves. In his response letter, Davis said the wolf that could be responsible for the depredations is the male of a pair believed to be denning. The female's collar indicates she is likely in a den, he wrote. In April, GPS points stopped uploading, and very recently those points began to upload again, he wrote. The points for this female's collar are showing a very localized position. The biological interpretation of this is that she was likely in a den during the time when connectivity with the collar was interrupted, which aligns with the expected timing of wolf reproduction. Tim Richard, president of the Middle Park Stock Growers Association, said livestock producers are disappointed in Davis's response. "We are not surprised by his response, but we are not done yet," he said. "We have to keep fighting for agriculture. We fully expect CPW to follow all of the wolf plan. If confirmed, it would mark the first den from the wolves reintroduced into Colorado in late December. It also would mark the first time wolves have been known to den in Colorado since the parents of the North Park pack naturally migrated to Colorado and gave birth to 6 pups in the spring of 2021. "We all figured up here there was a den," said Tim Richard, president of the Middle Park Stock Growers Association. "CPW has been telling us the collars aren't working, and our guess was the female was denned up." Those 10 wolves from eastern Oregon were released in late December into Grand County, where Kremling is located, in Summit County, and include 2 adult males from different packs, 2 now 2-year-old males from different packs, and 6 now 2-year-old females from various packs. Wolves are considered to be of breeding age at ages 2 to 3. Retired wolf expert Carter Niemeyer told the Coloradoan in a story that published online April 22 that so many recent wolf depredations in one area of Grand County might mean the wolves have started to den in the area. "The toughest decision with all of this is what if you have pups in a den right near where those recent depredations took place," he said in the story. Ranchers have been riled up over the discovery previously reported by the Coloradoan that identified 5 of the 10 wolves released into Colorado belonged to Oregon packs that had confirmed livestock depredations between July 2023 and when they were captured in December 2023, according to Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife wolf depredation reports. Most wolf experts agreed depredating livestock is a behavior learned from wolf parents. In his letter, David said the removal of wolves will be considered once wolves become reestablished. "The wolf population in Colorado is far below any restoration goal," Davis wrote. "We have the legal duty to establish a self-sustaining population of wolves while minimizing conflict risk. Any consideration of lethal removal will be carefully deliberated to ensure it does not conflict with these legally mandated restoration goals. As the wolf population in Colorado grows, and as we get to points where we enter different management phases, the approach to lethal removals will likely become more liberal." He also said he recognizes the stress the depredations have caused ranchers, but hopes the 2 sides can work together to minimize losses. "It's not lost on me that these very tense times are putting a great deal of strain on our relationships," he wrote. "We hope that no matter what, we can continue to work together to successfully avoid and minimize impacts on the agricultural industry while restoring wolves to Colorado." Davis's letter came the same day the first report of a released wolf's death was confirmed in Larimer County. Middle Park Stock Growers Board, I have received your letter from April 18th that summarized the depredations that one of your members suffered on April 17th and 18th, as well as the suspicions that your members have expressed on other attacks and kills. In your letter, you have made a request to lethally remove 2 depredating wolves. I recognize that this has been a particularly challenging experience not only for you and your members, but for CPW staff as well, with long nights and a lack of quality sleep at a critical time for your operations. At the same time, the industry is dealing with additional stresses. Please know that CPW takes our responsibilities to and our relationships with ranchers and the industry very seriously. We cannot accomplish our mission to perpetuate wildlife without these strong partnerships. It's not lost on me that these very tense times are putting a great deal of strain on our relationships. We hope that no matter what, we can continue to work together to successfully avoid and minimize impacts on the agricultural industry while restoring wolves to Colorado. The wolf that could be implicated in these depredations is the male of a pair that we believe to be denning. GPS points from the female's collar indicate that she is likely in a den. In early April, GPS points stopped uploading, and very recently those points began to upload again. The points for this female's collar show a very localized position. The biological interpretation of this is that she was likely in a den during the time when connectivity with the collar was interrupted, which aligns with the expected timing of wolf reproduction. This would be the first den from wolves reintroduced to Colorado. We are working diligently to confirm the den and hope to have information on this soon. Removing the male breeder at this point would be irresponsible management and potentially cause the den to fail, possibly resulting in the death of the presumed pups. This is not a desirable result, and I am therefore not going to take action at this time to lethally remove this animal. As per the Colorado Wolf Restoration and Management Plan, page 12, in evaluating the use of lethal control on a context-specific basis, CPW will consider the trade-offs among many competing factors, including the ability to target depredating wolves, being efficient and effective with conflict minimization, financial cost, wolf reproductive and recruitment success, wolf population size and listing status, impacts to livestock owners, and social stakeholder interests when considering lethal take options. As with all wolf management practices, lethal control will only be implemented when in compliance with all state and federal laws and regulations. The wolf population in Colorado is far below any restoration goal. We have the legal duty to establish a self-sustaining population of wolves while minimizing conflict risk. Any consideration of lethal removal will be carefully deliberated to ensure it does not conflict with these legally mandated restoration goals. As the wolf population in Colorado grows, and as we get to points where we enter different management phases, the approach to lethal removals will likely become more liberal. While some other states have quantitative metrics to define chronic depredation, it is important to understand that simply meeting that metric does not necessarily initiate lethal removal. An evaluation of the circumstances, including an evaluation of the status of the entire wolf population, informs decisions on wolf management. As you are aware, Colorado's Wolf Restoration and Management Plan does not have a quantitative definition of what constitutes chronic depredation. This was intentional and results directly from the recommendations of the Stakeholder Advisory Group. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife Commission will be considering whether it is advisable to modify the plan to quantitatively define chronic depredation, and if so, what that definition should be. At the commission meetings this summer, CPW staff have been working with the landowner to do night patrols, as well as to deploy some conflict minimization tools in this area. Since those tools have been deployed, depredation has ceased, at least for the time being. We are prioritizing this geography for deployment of more conflict minimization tools in the immediate future and expanding their availability to other willing landowners. I need to clear up another issue as well. Your letter states that a release on January 2nd confirmed that the reintroduced animals came from depredating packs and that this violates the recommendation from the Technical Working Group, TWG, and the Wolf Restoration and Management Plan. We presume that you are referring to this Colorado Outdoors article. While the wolves that were selected for reintroduction may have come from packs that were historically chronically depredating packs, management action was taken in Oregon, and in the months leading up to capture prior to translocation to Colorado, the packs were not implicated in depredation. To continue to state that we brought known problem wolves into the state is a falsehood. Where wolves and livestock share the landscape, there will be conflict. We will hold tight to the recommendations of the TWG and what is stated in our plan that we will not bring currently chronically depredating wolves into the state. I appreciate that you have had and continue to have cooperative and responsive interactions with local CPW staff. I take great pride in the Area 9 staff. Your letter also suggested that there are unreported suspected depredations. If you or your members suspect that other depredations have occurred, please contact your local CPW officer so that an investigation can be completed. I know that you will not be satisfied with the determination to not lethally remove wolves at this time, and I hope that you understand that we are working to implement the state's Wolf Restoration and Management Plan and to implement state statute, while also working diligently to address the conflicts that livestock producers experience. It has proven to be a tremendously difficult and challenging task for all involved. Sincerely, Jeff, Davis, Director, Colorado Parks and Wildlife. A few things to consider. In the case of Meeker, Colorado's cattle attacks, at the time of the attacks there were no such wolves to be in the area. Isn't it ironic that the state of Colorado releases wolves back in the wild, in Grant County just 75 miles away from the town of Meeker, in a short period after the so-called attacks? One scenario to consider: if they hurry and reintroduce wolves back into that area, they then can cover up the big Dogman problem that I believe are in the area. Also, for the authorities to use black leg as a possibility, saying if a dog or wolf were to attack or scare the cattle, that would cause and speed up the chronic disease. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Thanks for listening, and remember the truth is within the shadows.